The Disney Society. Walt Disney and Wernher von Braun spreading lunar fantasy with science fiction films. Video published July 23, 2019 in anticipation of May 12, 2020 that update May 31st, 2020 to November 11th, 2023. Amazing how great NASA and SpaceX are at telling children's stories. Animated fantasies of yesterday and today, present. NASA Space. X Week Update, November 11th, 2023. I cannot believe it. No kidding. You can see the original post here. Jetsons 1962 to 2020 coronavirus. Walt Disney presented Wernher von Braun's dreams of spaceflight in the form of cartoons to the American and world population, a fantasy, unreal science fiction. Disney and Braun become the de facto kings of the USA. Walt Disney, the television king of America, on the cover of an American television magazine in 1954. There never was a black Mickey Mouse, the USA. They realized the power of television, especially Walt Disney, who is the king of America. The cooperation with Wernher von Braun since 1945 produces a new product, the science fiction film. Poster for Disney science fiction movies. April 1955. Poster for the fiction film Man in Space by Walt Disney, April 1955. Poster for the fiction film Mars and Beyond by Walt Disney. Fictions give the illusion that moon landings and trips to other planets would be possible. The American population, including NASA, falls into this illusion and develops a science fiction, Mickey Mouse mentality that even dominates NASA today. 1938 to 1945. Wernher von Braun is a lunar dreamer and an annihilator of human beings at the same time. Wernher von Braun intends to build rockets for mass destruction, but their plan is the production of lunar rockets. Also, the head of V2 production, Major General Walter Domberger, gives his memoirs the title, Shot in Space, and covers with spaceflight his annihilation work. Wernher von Braun's biography, 1969, bears the title, My Life Through Spaceflight, as if the rockets against London had never existed. Wernher von Braun's past is officially repressed by America. The USA propaganda, defrauding the world, says that Braun was a spiritual and worldly genius, innocent, who would only be interested in technique. About forced labor in the Third Reich, I knew practically nothing, says the USA propaganda. Since 1952, some sensational writers spread the lunar fantasy, the space religion, in the USA, under the direction of Wernher von Braun. Tabloid writers, under the direction of Wernher von Braun, spread a science fiction lunar fantasy with the idea that there would be a better future in space than on Earth. Visions of space travel in the cartoon style of Chesley Bonestell. Mental arrogance calls these unrealistic presentations space art. 1953, Chesley Bonestell. Unreal fantasy of a man landing on Mars. Absolutely unreal. February 1954, Chesley Bonestell. Lunar module as a science fiction painting with only one propellant. Absolutely unreal. April 1954, Chesley Bonestell. A city on Mars. A fictional painting. Absolutely unreal. In a 23-part series from Collier's magazine, Chesley Bonestell gives a good impression of lunar fantasy. In this way, the belief of a moon landing begins in the USA, and it is the beginning of the religion of space. Wernher von Braun becomes a kind of archpriest and reaches the cover of Time. Atmospheric flight, space flight, needs a good image to deceive Americans and the world population. For this plan, Braun collaborates with Disney, because its comic advertising can be well used to spread new myths in space and for the propaganda of the moon landing. In addition, Disney is also a partner of the Pentagon. It seems strange that since 1952, Disney and von Braun have always been sure that the moon landing could occur in the near future. Braun has already planned all the details for this. Braun's rockets are already exploding on the launch pad. Braun advises Disney on television shows on spaceflight. During the day, for example, Braun is in Florida working on the construction of the Redstone rocket and the Saturn rocket. And in the afternoon and evening, he is with Ernst Stuhlinger at the Disney Studios. During this work with Disney and its employees, it becomes a habit to mix fact and fantasy. Thus, new myths are emerging, and the American population can no longer distinguish between reality and fantasy. Braun delivers accurate models of launch rockets, spacecraft, space stations, lunar craft, and Mars rovers, and the Disney crew produces movies with them. Therefore, we have that since 1954, Disney's moon landing films have shaped the brains of the American and world population. Disney produces a number of moon landing films, for example, Man and the Moon, and the brochure maintains that a trip to the moon with a rocket will be possible in the near future, as shown in the film. This film presents a realistic and believable trip to the moon on a rocket, not to a place far in the future, no man's land, but in the foreseeable future. Other Disney space films are Man in Space and Mars and Beyond. All of these films are produced in close collaboration between Braun, Disney, the Pentagon, and the aerospace industry. Space propagandists call these unrealistic films educational films about the space program. In part, the childish desire provoked by Disney is even carried into the main work of NASA. Disney has such an influence, from then until today, that adults are trapped in Disney times, and also as adults, they compare everything with Disney. Disney has such an influence from then until today that adults are trapped in Disney times, and also as adults they compare everything with Disney. The Disney Society. Walt Disney and Wernher von Braun spreading lunar fantasy with science fiction films. Video published July 23, 2019, in anticipation of May 12, 2020, that Update May 31st, 2020 to November 11th, 2023. Amazing how great NASA and SpaceX are at telling children's stories. Animated fantasies of yesterday and today, present. NASA Space. X Week Update November 11th, 2023. I cannot believe it. No kidding. You can see the original post here. Jetsons 19...